And we are back for another round and another amazing game. We are going to be talking to Dylan and Luke from Peglin. This game is so adorable. When I was testing out all of the games last night for stream, I was just going to run a couple rounds to figure out what was going on. And then before I knew it, it was 30 minutes later and I was defeating a boss. I didn't actually kill the boss because the game is hard, but I love it. Please tell us a little bit about the game. How do you describe it to people?
Yeah, so we describe it as a Pachinko Roguelike. It's pretty much a deck builder, but instead of using cards, you're kind of collecting different pinballs, which can all have different physics properties and have different attacks in the RPG battle system. So there's a lot of familiar parts that people will recognize if you're fans of Peggle or Slay the Spire. But I'd like to think that we really brought a lot of our own mechanics and invention into it.
Nice. Well, let's take a look at the game. I'm going to be playing the game as this very, very cute little
as well.
Elf, goblin, orc. What is this little creature?
It's kind
it's
of
a Peglin?
goblin. Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
There's
makes
Peglins
sense.
and Heglins. Heglins are the shopkeepers.
Oh, I get it. So, Andrew, do you have a few questions for us?
What?
Did I lose Andrew? Oh, I don't have any of Andrew's audio.
Here I am. Now I have audio.
Here you are.
Sorry about that. I've been nodding and making noise, but none of it can
All
be
those
heard.
verbal nods that you make.
Everyone can hear my nods for ages. Pleasure to meet you guys. You guys are the dev team of Peglin, yeah?
We are, yeah. Yeah, we're both of the programmers, so we're both happy to be here. And then the team is a total of 4 people, so we also have an artist and a musician.
Nice. You guys are the programmers. Does that also mean you guys are the game designers? Do you guys make a lot of decisions on how this game plays?
Definitely.
Sort of. I believe,
I would say... Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Dylan is more involved with the design than I am. He's definitely the design lead of the game. He's been. It was his brain. It was his conception to begin with, and he's been pouring a lot of design and really good design decisions into the game, and it's really what's taken this game so far. I obviously give design input here and there, but yeah, we have Dylan to thank for most of the design.
Yeah. At what point did you join the project, Lucas?
I joined shortly around the time the pandemic really started kicking into gear. It wasn't because of the pandemic specifically, but it was one of the factors. I had seen the game at a game jam that Dylan had made, and I thought it was really good, and I knew of his intention to make it into a full-fledged game. And I was at the time out of a job, so I had a lot of time on my hands. So I wanted to help with it. So we teamed up.
And you guys are friends?
Yeah. We're no longer in the same city, but we were living in the same city at that point. So yeah.
We'll touch on that. We'll touch on the city thing in a bit. First off, the game jam. Dylan, what game jam was that for?
So the city that we were living in is Victoria, and they have kind of one big annual game jam every year called Orca Jam. And that's what the jam was. The Orca, yeah. The theme was fall, and I knew I wanted to make something kind of physicsy, and I kind of looked at different kind of physicsy games that I could just smash some bricks and do something simply. And Pachinko or Peggle worked really, really well with that fall theme, and so that's what got it all kicked off.
I see. But prior to making Peglin, did you play a lot of physics-based? I don't even know what this genre is. Is it just a physics game? It's not really a puzzle game. I can't say a physics puzzle.
Yeah, genre has been a really tricky one for us. Yeah, God, like we say kind of physics puzzle game, I guess, because it is kind of puzzly, but really it's just a mechanic used for the battle. Yeah. So yeah, genre has been a tricky one for us for sure.
I wonder what the genre of Round Guard is. Like I think they also call themselves a roguelike, but I don't a roguelike what?
I would love to hear Dylan's thoughts on this as kind of leading the game design here. But the meta loop is the roguelike parts. The core loop is this like physics simulation. And the interesting thing about Peglin is how those two interact. When in your original game design, was it still a roguelike back then as well?
No, not really. So for the original game jam, we started and I got the very basic puzzle element working on kind of like the first day and a half, I think by like Saturday afternoon. So there was still a lot of time, and it was kind of like, what do we do with this from here? And I actually wasn't looking at roguelikes at the time. I was actually looking at like puzzle quests. I was like, how do I build this into more of like a big adventure? At the end of the game jam, I had like the physics puzzle, and like it was one complete battle. And the version is actually playable. It's actually pretty fun to like hop back and look at it and just see how far we've come sometimes. It's on itch.io as Goblin Drop is kind of what it was called at the time. Goblin Drop, yeah. So at the end of that jam, we had this system, and I was still working on another project pretty actively for another couple of months. And that project was just kind of languishing, and it wasn't really going where I wanted it to go. And it was a little like dark. It was much more of like a narrative game, based in space, kind of desolate and not very hopeful. So when the pandemic hit, kind of as Lucas was mentioning, that's when Peglin development really kicked off. Like I had still been kind of tinkering with it and experimenting.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we lost Dylan for a second there.
Yeah. He was saying, I believe he was still tinkering a little bit. Back? Sorry, we lost you for a second.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. I could still hear everyone else, but I saw my video on vMix freeze. So
interesting.
Whereabouts did you lose me?
Uploaded. Don't.
Yeah, sorry, you mentioned Dylan.
Yeah. So hopefully this will stabilize here. But yeah, I was just saying that I was working on this like desolate project, and when the pandemic hit, I just wanted something like very fun and simple and bouncy and physicsy and lighthearted, even if it is like a difficult game. It never really rubs it in your face, and especially when we have like the meta progression that we want to get into the game, we really want to like celebrate the end of a run. Right now, it's just kind of like, oops, we gotcha. How about you restart and try again? But later on, we really want that to be more of like, exactly. Just something to work towards and like to have things building up as you're playing the game. Not necessarily like RPG progression like it was in the original plans, but just something to tie into the roguelike element.
I remember I played an earlier build of this early last year. I'd worked with you for the Indie Game Jam because we were trying to transition everything to online with the oncoming of the apocalypse. A lot of what you've done since then has been like UI. A lot of it has been like conveying more of the complicated mechanics that you're presenting to the players. Like, what's a piece of UI you're most proud of?
Oh, I mean, UI is definitely my weakness. So, like, I wouldn't say that I am particularly fond of that compared to other elements of the game. But I do like the pieces where we get to work with like the artist pretty closely. Like these scrolls here, just have a pretty nice like roll up, roll down animation.
I love that roll up.
And since this is more of like a technical talk, I'll just briefly touch on like games made in Unity, so lots of Unity UI, and these.
Yeah,
dang it.
But, sorry, that's okay.
Okay, basically, I was just going to say that it's not super complex, but they make use of like masking in a neat way, where we just have like a UI mask that is just like shrinking and growing, and that's why the text doesn't just still appear when the scroll itself is gone. So that's something I'm a little proud of for sure.
Yeah. Luke, you work on this project. Do you have any bits of any features you're very proud of?
I guess one of the things I'm most proud of is probably gotta be the long pegs. It was definitely one of those things. You can't see them currently in the screen. Maybe we'll get another battle scenario where we can see them. But the long pegs, the ones that make shapes, those took me took learning a lot. Really, I had never really had to do anything like it, and I had no idea how to start. So it was a lot of researching Bezier curves, which I've used Bezier curves as tools before, but I never had to like sit down and generate one. And mesh generation, which I'd never done before in Unity, and that was fun. And yeah, there's still some stuff that we need to address with them. Currently, we can't really make full circles, which is disappointing, but it's something that we have that it's something that I'm really proud of how it works and how it came together. Yeah, that's probably the thing that I'm the most proud of.
You have to talk about the aimer as well, because the aimer is just
magic. That was a very recent addition. We used to have an aimer before that was predicting the it was trying to predict the trajectory, and it was very good at it. You basically inputted the physical properties of the object, and it was very good at predicting the actual trajectory once you launched it. But since we are using Unity physics to let the ball bounce around, there was actually no good way to do the prediction using that. Like we could do some reflection to try to see if we could match it, but there was really no way. It was highly inaccurate. So what I ended up doing, I guess, now what we have is behind the scenes we have a replication of the scene of all the pegs that are currently on, and we shoot invisible objects, and we take that trajectory, and you can't see it right now because it depends on a specific relic, but we have actually functioning bounce prediction, and it works pretty much with some caveats, because we are obviously when you design something, you then want you have certain parameters in mind, and then at the same time that we were doing this, Dylan was designing moving pegs, and those kind of throw a wrench in how this works. So we have a couple of things we need to fix with those still, but it works surprisingly well. I was really shocked at how well it worked once it got going. And it allows us to because that was probably the main complaint that players had, was that the aimer wasn't really accurate because it wasn't taking into account the width of the object, and also we really wanted to do Pegl's bounce prediction, because if you look at Peggle, you can unlock an ability or power that lets you see where the ball is going to bounce, and we were really not getting that with the previous method.
Yeah, another example of like just critical UI that players take for granted was deeply difficult for the developers.
Yeah. It's really not easy at all, and honestly, I was surprised at how. I think there's ways we can still optimize it, but it hasn't really been a resource hog to be doing this behind the scenes.
I want to talk more about the game design process, and you touched on something there, Luke, about players being frustrated with an experience during play testing. What was the play testing experience like? Who played your game? How did you get that feedback, and how did you quantify it?
Yeah, so we have a lot of playtesters that have been super kind with their time, and they're enjoying the game a lot too, which is really flattering. In our Discord, we really got out there and tried to start a community. Dylan's probably responsible for most of this. We really want to build. Got out there, tried to build a community, and people have responded, and they've been really good at it. They're really good at like giving us their feedback. We have people that started speed running the whole demo that we have, even with like all the stuff that it's probably going to change in the future. But people are really enjoying like even doing that, which is like amazing. It's like a response I was never expecting.
Yeah, it's very fun to have a community that like responds as soon as you put out an update. It's, you know, like reading through the patch notes, seeing what's different, seeing how they can maybe game it. And yeah, the speed runs are just like completely unbelievable to me, because I just didn't think that that would be something that people would do. And the current record is like just over 6 minutes for the demo, which is crazy. So that's been a lot of fun. And then I will also, I'll give Six itself a shout out here, because that was one of the, you know, the earliest pieces of feedback we got, was submitting to Six, like very early in the game's lifetime. And just getting the well-written feedback from the jurors kind of really kickstarted some of the like, you know, I've been so close to this game for so long now. What are the glaring issues that I'm just not seeing anymore? Which does happen quite frequently.
Yeah. For everyone who's listening in, if you're on your own game dev journey, Six doesn't cost a lot. I think it's still just $6 to apply, and you'll get a bunch of people to at least play your game and give you feedback, even if you don't make it into the curation. Everything is, you get handwritten qualitative feedback. You have this avid player base that we were talking about. Is that on Discord? Is this a Discord community?
Yeah, that's mostly where we've curated it for sure. We also we do have a Twitter. You know, it's mostly other developers. Like I think most people's Twitters are. But yeah, Discord has been our biggest one for sure. And yeah, that kind of came about just kind of naturally from having our demo available. You know, we kind of scrambled to put a demo together for a couple of different events. And for a while, we were pulling it down in between events. And then we kind of realized, like, we're getting such good feedback while the events are active. Why are we even pulling this down? And that's when we kind of made the decision to move towards just like more of an open development style. Because the plan has always been to go into early access for quite a while anyway. And we just figured we're already getting the feedback that we're looking for. So we just kind of rolled with that. And yeah, there's a link to the Discord in the game and on the Steam page. So we try to make it really easy to find us, to chat and give us suggestions and bugs that people are finding. And also just to find a community and chat about strategies. And, we have a lot of time where people will come in and be like, I really don't like this orb. This orb is useless. And then somebody else comes in and be like, but that's my favorite orb. Like, how could you say that when it can do these 3 things? And then the person's like, oh, I didn't try it, doing with this combination. And you just get these really neat, there's already kind of strategizing happening, even though we haven't really created all of the synergies that we want to have in the game.
Yeah. Where are the Peglin tier lists, guys? I need to see those in chat.
I've seen a few, and they're actually very helpful. Especially when people are leaving their written feedback on why they put something in a certain tier. It's either this thing is not as effective as I had thought it would be in most runs, or maybe I didn't think of its combination with this, and so it's kind of broken right now. It's too good, or even just we're not communicating something's effectiveness enough, which can happen very frequently.
Yeah,
this is amazing that you have such a bounty of feedback, but it's also, I'm sure, a curse, because you now need to sort through a lot of qualitative feedback, not quantitative. There's no easy number for you to compare things. When you have such a bounty of ideas and feedback and complaints, how do you triage them to know what's most important for your time?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's mostly just, kind of reading through the Discord, seeing the feedbacks, and I should say the Steam community forums as well, because not everyone joins the Discord community. And we get a lot of feedback there too. And really what you're looking for is persistent issues. If one person comes in and says I hate this orb, it's useless, you don't have enough information from that to maybe they died and they were short like 2 damage while shooting with that orb,
day.
right? And they're a little grumpy about it, like so you just don't have enough information. But if you're persistently seeing like the aimer that Lucas came in and improved, like we were seeing that again and again and again. Exactly, it turns it quantitative. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys have any kind
love this orb so much.
Which orb is it?
I love that orb too.
The multi-orb upgraded? I'm just having so much fun. Who doesn't love multi-ball in pinball, you know?
Exactly.
You guys are doing this open game development process, which is fascinating. By having the demo out to so many people and having so many players, are you guys collecting analytics? Are you guys collecting any quantitative feedback in-game?
No, yeah, that is very high on our list, and that's something that we're going to have by the time we go into early access for sure. Yeah, like the demo has had over 30,000 players, so like sometimes I see that and I'm like, oh, that's so much data that we could have.
But you still get that qualitative. You're still getting some feedback still.
Yeah, exactly. And there is something to be said for like designing things like by hand too, right? Like it's artisanal, homegrown game design. No big analytics here.
But we are definitely planning on having an analytics layer. I think it's going to be really important for the future of the game, especially during early access. Because we really want to compare if like you said, the qualitative feedback that we're getting, how it compares with the quantitative feedback that we get from the data. Right. Like, is this actually something that we need to take a look at or not?
In all your iterations across Peglin or Goblin Drop, what are things that have been cut, have been removed, didn't work out?
From a design layer, there's been a few big things. A question that we get pretty frequently is like, why are our maps so static? You know, compared to like Slay the Spire, where it's just kind of like, here's an open field and we're just going to generate like paths and nodes semi-randomly. Like our map layout is always the same, even though the nodes within them are randomized. That came from like a feature that I'd really wanted to put in. I'd been playing Betrayal Legacy at the time where we started development. I wanted the nodes to like have some history. And like, you know, if you died on one enough times, that certain orbs would get more powerful or certain relics would have more effects. And while playing around with it, it just didn't really work. Like it would be so impossible to balance well. So that was something that I thought would work really well, and I really wanted to put it in. And then as soon as you actually start playing around with it, not quite the case. And then there's been a spattering of like relics and orbs as well. Some little things, like we kind of thought that you would need a relic to see the upcoming enemies, and then decided like, that's a bit overkill. Let's just let people see it so that they don't have to like memorize which peg layout goes with like which encounter, and a bunch of different orbs that I've spent a little bit of time trying to make work, and just not quite there.
How about you, Luke? Is there anything that was left on the table that you deeply miss?
From my standpoint, it's more like things that we have that I still want to improve because I don't think they're quite there yet, and that's obviously a lot.
You guys aren't done yet. Project's not over.
No, we're not done yet. I believe that we still haven't reached the phase where we do some intensive culling of things that we are not working out. Maybe we'll need some of that quantitative feedback to really take into account. But being for the longest time, this was a side project, right? Dylan has only started working on this full time as of a few months ago, so it's really hard to let go of a lot of the things that you've created, right? Because you've put your time into it. I don't know. I'm sure he could speak for that better than me.
Yeah, just a little point to add is just that like.
Oh no!
Oh no! We lost him again.
Every time I try to talk here, yeah. No dice.
The perfect
Okay, yeah, it's
moment.
just a quick point anyway. But it's the kind of format that really benefits from having more content. You know, even if it's not like doesn't fit into an optimal build or anything, there's just kind of you get so many individual building blocks that like combine together to create more complex behavior. So even if something like isn't great or doesn't do like exactly the niche that we created it for, just having it in there is something that ties together with other pieces, works really well. So yeah, we haven't been too aggressive with cutting anything just yet, unless it's like really not working out from a technical or a design standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I hope that you never cut in this game is this adorable little bouncing and text little things. Like, I love small details like this that make it feel like an old school mud. The coloring of the text, and just I feel like it's got a lot of little details that are retro, but not like Pac-Man retro, more of like 90s video game retro that I really, really enjoy. Just wanted to point that out. I hope that never goes away because I feel like it gives a lot of feel to the game. So
definitely,
add that
I
to
love
a
that text
quantitative data
animation
point
for sure.
You guys are currently in. You're not yet in early access. You're like earlier access by having this open game development. When is early access for you guys?
That is a great question.
A question.
We were
Really
hoping. Yeah, maybe. We were really hoping for like October, November, so like sometime this month or next month. And early access was it was going to be like the first 2 acts of the game, so the forest and the castle, which is rapidly nearing completion. But we're kind of like, you know, we keep on getting warned that like you only get one launch on Steam, and you want to be very careful that like, you know, you're putting your best foot forward for like your real early access launch. So we have a few different people kind of recommending to us that like we hold off until all of the content is there, including we were actually just talking to the Round Guard devs about this the other day, and they're very, very friendly. Some people think that like, you know, we have like this vendetta against each other, but that's not the case at all. We've seen them at a bunch of different events, and it's, you know, a very, very collaborative community. They're also involved in 6, and it's fantastic to see them around. But yeah, so we were kind of chatting to them and getting their opinion, and yeah, just having other devs that you can ask about that sort of thing. And yeah, we still haven't quite decided yet because like we don't like really need the game to go gangbusters. So like we obviously want to do the best that we can for the launch, but like our active community right now, like they would like more content right now. So it's, you know, kind of, you have to do the little balancing act of like, which do we go with? So still undecided. So a tricky question for sure. Save the hardest ones for last.
We are going to have to wrap up here in about a minute. Is there any kind of, you know, advice you would give to someone who's curious to submit their game to 6?
Just submit it, like whatever you have. I've seen jam games be submitted and actually demo at the festival if they had like, you know, 10 minutes of gameplay that they could show off and a neat idea. If you've been working on a project and you know it's not going to come out for like 5 years, submit it and get the feedback. You know, like Andrew was saying, like it's $6 and it is absolutely worth every penny. You're not just getting like feedback from just like some random people that don't know anything about games. You're getting feedback from like subject matter experts for $6 and the time to like produce a demo, get a demo ready to play. Yeah, it's absolutely like so valuable.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dylan and Lucas, for your time. We really appreciate you coming on the show with us again this week. And we wish the best for Peglin. I can't wait for early access. I'm going to tell everybody I know about it because it's totally my kind of game. So thank you so much for your time. We are going to take a 5-minute break. We will be right back, and we're going to talk to the developers of Keyboard Commander. That's all for Peglin for now. Goodbye. We'll see you in a few.